The most dangerous people in your life are not the loud ones. They don't shout. They don't threaten. They don't reveal their intentions. They smile. They listen. They make you feel understood. And while you're busy trusting them, they're studying you. Not to connect, not to empathize, but to calculate. The term Machiavellian comes from a man named Niccolò Machiavelli, a 16th century Italian philosopher and political strategist. Machiavelli wrote a book called The Prince. It was not about morality. It was about power. In it, he argued something radical, that leaders should not be guided by virtue, but by effectiveness. That deception is sometimes necessary. That manipulation is sometimes justified. That fear is more reliable than love. His most famous idea is often summarized as, "The ends justify the means." In other words, what matters is not how you achieve your goals, only that you achieve them. Centuries later, psychologists noticed something strange. Some people weren't just inspired by Machiavelli. They naturally thought this way. In psychology, Machiavellianism is a personality trait. It describes people who are highly strategic, emotionally detached, cynical about human nature, and willing to manipulate others to get what they want. Machiavellian individuals believe three core things. People are tools. Morality is flexible. Trust is a weakness. They don't see the world as a place of connection. They see it as a game of influence, where every interaction has a hidden motive, and every person has a weakness to exploit. They are not impulsive. They are not emotional. They are cold, patient, and calculating. Machiavellians don't feel deeply for others, not because they can't, but because they don't see the point. Empathy is inefficient. Guilt is a liability. Compassion clouds judgment. They observe emotions, but they don't absorb them. This makes them extremely good at staying calm in situations where others panic. They are always thinking 3 steps ahead, not about how they feel, but about outcomes. Every conversation is evaluated. What can I gain? What can I lose? How can I position myself better? They don't react. They plan. Machiavellians rarely confront directly. They influence quietly, through selective honesty, flattery, withholding information, creating doubt, playing people against each other. They don't force, they nudge. You think you chose, but the choice was engineered. They believe most people are selfish, stupid, or predictable, so they feel justified in using them. In their mind, if everyone is manipulating anyway, why shouldn't I just do it better? This worldview removes guilt. Rules are suggestions. Ethics are tools. What's right depends on what works. If lying achieves the goal, they lie. If loyalty becomes inconvenient, they abandon it. They don't ask, "Is this wrong?" They ask, "Will this succeed?" Machiavellian manipulation is subtle. They don't intimidate. They reshape reality. Common strategies include information control. They never give you the full picture. They give you just enough to guide your decisions. Strategic kindness. They help you, but only when it creates dependency. Gaslighting light. Not obvious lies, small distortions, enough to make you doubt yourself. playing both sides. They maintain different versions of the truth with different people, so they always appear innocent. Emotional mirroring. They reflect your values back at you, so you feel understood. But it's not empathy. It's data collection. In relationships, Machiavellians are dangerous because they feel safe. They are charming, attentive, good listeners, but intimacy to them is not connection. It's access. They learn what you fear, what you want, what you need. And then they shape their behavior to become exactly what you trust. Not to love you, but to control the dynamic. They outcomes create emotional dependency, withhold affection strategically, use jealousy as leverage, frame themselves as the victim. You feel confused, drained, uncertain, but words can't explain why. That's the point. In corporate environments, Machiavellians thrive. They take credit for others' work, build alliances, spread quiet rumors, position themselves near power. They don't aim to be the best. They aim to be indispensable. They understand one truth very well. Performance gets noticed, but perception gets promoted. So they manage impressions, not results. Machiavellianism is part of something called the dark tetrad. 4 traits: Machiavellianism, manipulation; narcissism, ego; psychopathy, lack of remorse; sadism, enjoyment of harm. Machiavellians are not necessarily psychopaths, but they share one thing: low empathy, high control. They don't want chaos. They want dominion. Here's the most uncomfortable part. Machiavellian traits exist on a spectrum, which means you don't have to be a villain to use them. If you've ever withheld truth to maintain control, manipulated someone for their own good, used charm to get what you want, strategically positioned yourself socially, you've touched Machiavellian behavior. Not because you're evil, but because the human brain evolved for survival, not morality. Machiavellians are not monsters. They are not broken. They are simply humans who learned to prioritize outcomes over conscience. They don't see the world as good or bad. They see it as negotiable. And the reason Machiavellianism is so unsettling is not because it exists in others, but because, under the right conditions, it exists in all of us. This is Noir Human, exploring the dark side of human nature.